Moving on next to John Moody, who is a food activist who co-runs the Road Food Conference along with Joel Salatin and has healed himself with good food. John.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to talk with you today about an important issue, the loss of nutrients in the Western food supply. Imagine if you would, all of us are familiar with the inflation going on right now, where when you walk into a grocery store, um, items you used to buy are half the size, a third of the size, a quarter of the size they used to be at the same price or an even higher price. And we visually see that in the food supply over the last 10, 15, 20 years. But one thing we don't notice when we walk into the grocery store is the decline of nutrients in the food supply and in the foods we're eating. And a lot of people are stunned by this idea, like is our food truly becoming less nutritious? And to start this talk off, I wanted to give you just a glimpse into how much the quality, especially nutritional quality, of the food supply has declined over the last 100 years. So this is from a study out of a university in India, and here they're merely, bringing together a bunch of research done across the world over the past century. So nutrient exhaustion started long ago, but after 1900, and the Green Revolution increased exponentially. On the basis of available nutrition data, it has been observed that nutrient dilution and decline has anywhere from 20 to 80% over the past 4 to 5 decades. This affects both the quality and the taste of fruits, vegetables, and other food crops. For instance, one study shows over the last 5 to 7 decades, sodium declines of 30 to 50%, potassium declines of 20%, magnesium declines of 25%, calcium declines of 20 to 50%, iron declines of 25 to 30%, declines of 20 to 80%, and zinc declines of 30 to 60%. Another study done from 1963 to 1992, a mere 3 decades, showed calcium declines of 30%, magnesium declines of 21%, potassium declines of 10%, phosphorus declines of 10%, iron declines of over 30%, as well as a decrease in the mineral levels of 20 fruits and vegetables. In Britain, they showed between 1940 and 1990, calcium declines of 20%, magnesium declines of 35%, sodium declines of over 40%, potassium of 15, phosphorus of almost 10, iron of 25, and copper declines of 80%. And these people just go on and on and on, after studies showing that there has been an almost complete and total collapse in the nutrient quality of the foods we've consumed, to the point where to get the same amount of nutrition as your great grandparents, so the amount of nutrition they would get from eating food in a single day, you would have to consume 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 times as much as the same foods to give your body the same amount of nutrients. And so now that we're all on the same page that this is a significant problem, the next question becomes, what caused this? How did we get from point A to point B where the nutrient quality of our food system has declined so radically? All of us have probably heard the expression, you are what you eat. And this is equally true of what your food eats. Plants consume soil, animals consume pasture and other feedstuffs. And when we begin to look at what's happened to the soils in Western nations over the past 100 to 120 years, the decline of our soils mirrors the decline in the nutrient density and healthfulness of the food we're consuming. And so what you see in America, for instance, NPR recently reported that roughly 1/3 of all land through the central United States, I believe it is, has completely lost all of its nutrient, organic matter rich topsoil. Every year in America, we send literally hundreds of thousands of tons of soil down to the Gulf of Mexico or into the air through erosion and other poor soil management practices. At the same time as we're farming these soils and removing nutrients through food crops, most places are putting back only a fraction of what we're taking out. Every food crop is taking selenium and magnesium and potassium and calcium and iodine and all of these different minerals and compounds from across the periodic table and things, other things that are created in the soil. And most farmers and most growers are putting back NPK fertilizer. When you go to a store like Walmart and you're looking for fertilizer for your garden, you're looking at something that's usually three numbers: the nitrogen, the potassium, and the phosphorus, the NPK. And so we're constantly making withdrawals against the bank account that is the soils that grow our food, and we're making insufficient deposits. And another issue you run into with how the soil is managed is this approach to reducing soil to mere chemistry. That all we have to do is put back certain nutrients that we're taking out and soil will remain healthy, has been disproven time and time again over the last 50 or 60 years. And that's partly very similar to the human body, because just like for us, it isn't just what you eat that makes who you are, but it's actually what your body absorbs. So some of us listening to this talk are much better at actually absorbing, grabbing onto the nutrients in our food. And that's primarily, but not solely, related to the health of our microbiome, our gut bacteria. These microorganisms that live inside of us and help us break down and process foods and nutrients. Plants are the same way. Plants are dependent on a healthy soil microbiome to be able to access the nutrients, the minerals, and other compounds they need to be healthy. And modern growing practices, which are tillage intensive, which rely on synthetic applications of fertilizers and other compounds, have been shown to damage this soil microbiome in significant and deleterious ways, making it even harder for plants to access the nutrients that are already there. Just like when you take antibiotics, it damages your own gut microbiome, and then you are prone to experience gastrointestinal or other distress because of the disturbance to something your body relies on for its health. So we have soil that has very particular needs in order to grow healthy food. And a lot of our approaches to growing food are actually antithetical to keeping the soil healthy and therefore keeping our food supply robust and healthy at the same time. And then when you add to that the chemicals we use in modern agriculture, so you think about chemicals like Roundup and other things, some of these are classified as antibiotics. Many of these are mineral and nutrient chelators. They lock up, bind, or otherwise make it difficult for minerals to get into the plants that are trying to access them. Our soil that our food supply relies on is a disaster. But it doesn't stop there. I always talk about, we're dirt poor in terms of our food system, but we're also badly bred. Because the foods we're growing now, you might say, well, my grandpa ate potatoes and I eat potatoes. And great-great-grandma ate green beans, but I eat green beans. But while they're similar, they're no longer the same foodstuffs. Many of these fruits and vegetables have been bred in ways that increase their carbohydrate content, increase their size, increase their shelf stability, all of these things that make them more palatable to eaters and also make them easier for industrial food systems with long supply chains, great times in storage, thousands of miles in trucks to hold up to that. But it came at the cost of their nutrient levels, that we're growing breeds of food that have a much lower nutrient potential per pound of food than what our great-grandparents' grandparents enjoyed. And so when you put these things together, and you find yourself sitting here in 2024 and wondering what's going on with our food supply and what's going on with our health, it's really just a very, very simple thing. We've made ourselves dirt poor through poor soil management and soil stewardship, and then we've made ourselves badly bred by selecting fruits and vegetables not for producing optimal health in the people who eat them, but for producing optimal profits for industrial agriculture and the industrial food system that we now all enjoy.
Thank you very much, John.